As always, we got Gunny Matheson, Joe Schmidt, and our special guest today.
All right.
We have an audience.
Okay.
Do you have an applause sign or anything like that?
Not yet.
But they laugh a lot.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Episode 95. Matt Gaines.
As always, we got Gunny Matheson, Joe Schmidt, and our special guest tonight, $10 million rider. 10 million, is that right?
Yes, sir.
$10 million
Well, slightly
rider.
over by now, but yeah,
Yeah, a little bit more.
You know.
Yeah, but who's counting the change, right?
you got to count it all.
Got to count it all. Matt Gaines won everything possible to win in the cutting horse industry. And thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I mean, it didn't go exactly how we were supposed to go golfing today.
Yes, we were.
And
Yep.
we're for everybody. We got an exciting little. We're gonna break 60 challenge. We're stealing something, and Matt was gonna come do it and hurt his back.
Well, and
I hurt my back as
Gunny
well.
hurt his too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna blame it on him.
Yeah. Well, and I would like to point out that between the two of you, both with hurt backs, I'm feeling better about my exercise program because it does prove that it really doesn't matter.
Well,
Because I don't know if everybody knows this, but Matt's pretty fit. And a friend of Matt's sent me a picture that we can put here. That Matt probably knows who my friend is that sent me that picture.
I'm not real sure what picture you're talking about.
It's
Well,
you,
it'll
it's
be
you
here.
shirtless, and you're like got your buckle halfway taken
it's
off.
the back on track ad.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I didn't. There
Probably
wasn't.
Winston. Probably Winston.
I didn't
Yeah, it
look
was
close.
Winston.
Yeah, it
Sounds
was
like
Winston.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look super close, but I didn't see any back on track stuff. Like I want to be clear that I can looked away because it's.
But you
know.
sent it to me, and now I have it on my phone too.
Yeah,
And I was
sent it to
wondering.
Gunny.
Yeah, I was
so,
wondering why
yeah.
Winston actually had it.
Yeah, that's
you
a
know.
great point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's something you got to think about right there.
Basically, that was just another way, like an attempt to backhandedly fat shame me again. Okay? They get such enjoyment out of it, Matt. I just,
Well,
yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. It's always good to have him on that end of the table because, yeah, good times. So, what have you been up to?
we just got back from the BI in Tulsa, and right now really working on the 3-year-olds because mine are green this year, and trying to get them caught up. And we leave in a week to go to Italy and do a clinic over there for a few days, Johnny Mitchell and I. And yeah, we'll get back from there I think on the 14th, and we have the convention. We got to go to that for 3 days in June, and then it'll be time to get ready for the summer show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you guys. So we're starting to deal with it now, but you guys have for a long time. How do you get your 3-year-olds trained? You guys are on the road a lot.
Well,
They have specialized 2-year-old people in their business, too.
yeah, and a lot of I don't at the moment, but most of the trainers, they have assistants, and so they'll. You got to do one of two things. You either have a really good assistant at home and you leave them at home and they work them, or you take them with you. And that's what I do. I take mine with me. And fortunately, I don't have that many this year. But, yeah, I took them all to Tulsa, and I'll try to work them every morning during the summer show. Of course, we'll be home. But then this fall, I'll take them with me this fall, too.
So when you take them to Tulsa, for example, do you work them at the show or do you go to somebody's house?
No, I work
close
them
to-
at the show.
You do.
It depends. Like, I tried to work them on cows as much as I could while we were there, but some days I'd flag them, or if I didn't have time to work them on cows, or if it just didn't work out, But yeah, I mean, we worked them pretty much every day while we were there.
Because didn't I read somewhere when you were hauling for a world title, you were on the road 230 days, 240 days?
Yeah, probably, at least, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we did that for 2.5 years.
And you won an open world title.
Yes, in 21. Well, I won my first one in 2015 on Special New Baby, but then in 21 I won it on Sugar Spice and Everything Nice. And then in 22 I won the novice 25,000 novice world championship on I don't remember that gelding's name at the moment, but
So when you're gone that much, like how were your futurity horses that year?
well, in 21 not as good as I thought they were, really. And it's funny, I've had this conversation with somebody before about that, asking about the advantages of, because we hauled them with us everywhere we went. I mean, they were, so like they handled everything, right? I mean, mentally they were mature. They were, that wasn't a problem. But I thought I had two pretty good horses, and they just didn't show like I thought they would. So I don't know, when it was all said and done, like, I don't know if I didn't do as good a job preparing them, or maybe they just weren't as good of horses as I thought. So I don't know. But then the next year, we did it again in 22, and I made the finals. I think I made the futurity finals that year on one. So, I don't know. It's in 21, like, I probably worked the flag a lot more than I did cattle, because at a lot of those weekend shows, like, they'll have a practice pen, but the cattle, the situation usually isn't very good. So I was probably maybe a little too overprotective that way, like, trying to keep them out of a bad situation. And looking back, if I'd have to do it over again, I'd have worked them more on cattle and just made them get through it. But yeah, it's. I mean, I think that's part of. It's just something else you got to figure out when you're gone that much, and
I don't think the reigning's any different though. Sometimes I think we could have the quote unquote best horse in the world at home, and you bring it to a horse show, and it completely surprises you and goes, "Oof."
I think maybe even more for us.
That wasn't what I wanted.
Right.
Well, so that year I had a stud, metallic cat stud, right? And so I show him in the first go-round, marked 217, and he was pretty good. And I thought everything was good. And then come back second go-round and show him, and he's just, every time a cow moved, he went the wrong way, So, I don't know. Had a good work on him that morning, and like I said, he was good the first go. Usually you get them through that first go-round, and you feel like, all right, that was good, and they, everything kind of gets better, and you keep building, but for some reason it didn't go that way.
Do you remember how that horse turned out after that? Did he turn out to be a good horse?
He ended up being a nice horse. We ended up gilding him, and he ended up being a nice horse, but he didn't make as good a horse as I thought he was. So, and I think that's the difference. Kind of like the stud of Irish Sugar Daddy that I was reserve champion on, 23? I didn't feel like, I knew that was a good horse, but I didn't think he was ready. But right from the very first cow I cut on him, the first go round, I get it cut, it runs into him and runs to the wall, and he handles it, and he's just, since the very start, the first time I showed him, and every time I've shown him, he's just gritty. Like, when it's time to go do his job, he's going to go do his job. And, he tries hard, and he just cares about it that much. And I think that's the stuff that, you don't train that stuff. It's either there or it's not. Right. And it's hard to find that out until you do actually go show them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
so often in the cutting, them guys that have 3, 4, 5 good ones will pass 2 to somebody else, and those horses will make the finals, and they won't make the finals on the 2 they picked.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, and it's always surprising to me. Like you have somebody catch ride for one, and it does better than the ones you ended up showing.
There's been a handful of catch rides win the Futurity.
The Futurity.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, that's when we do all the pre-works and all that stuff, and all that stuff helps, but still, there's nothing that replaces. I don't think there's any way to duplicate actual showing them for the first time, and I don't know. The pressure,
the bright lights, the feeling.
Yeah, and and I don't know if it's all that or if it's just us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe, we're more keyed up because we know the difference. The horses shouldn't know the difference, but.
And don't you think sometimes when you're training one all year, this spot and that spot, and you're not comfortable, and somebody else catch rides it and they don't know those spots and they don't care about those spots, and drops their hand and it works.
Yeah, that's like I told somebody this the other day. I've taken a lot of really good horses to the Futurity, and I've never taken one that there wasn't something about them that worried me.
Right.
So I mean, it's just what you're talking about. I mean, there's always. I don't care how good a horse it is or how good a horse you think it is. There's always something there that worries you, and. But then, like I said, I think that goes to, the ones that really care about their job, they step up and do their job. And the ones that don't. And, to me, like, you can't train that. Like, I mean, you can cause things, you can cause them to be worried about things and stuff like that if you're not careful. But ultimately, I think it's no different than people, like there's some people that have the heart of a champion and,
some people are calling for the ball on the
heart of the champion and, maybe a little bit of a quitter.
Yeah. but I mean, I think horses are the same way. I think there's some that, their job truly is that important to them. And you know what, those are the ones that, And those are the ones that make great horses. The ones that bail you out when you're in a bind. Those are the winners.
No doubt. No doubt. We find the same thing in our business. Like we've talked before, the most nervous sometimes and you guys, it's different because you can't show them till the Futurity, right?
Right. Yeah.
So for us, sometimes the most nervous we are is the first time we show them in August, because if it's one you really, really like. And you walk in there and it doesn't horse show, then you're scratching your head. You're like, what do we do now? But for you guys, your biggest event, walking into the herd the first time, I mean, even though you've been to the works, I'm sure there's still some surprises.
Oh, yeah. No. And I've had horses, too, that I've had some horses that I thought were really good that didn't show as good as I thought. And then I've had some other horses that I thought were pretty average that were a whole lot better when I showed them. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been surprised both ways there. And, and another thing about our Futurity, too, that I think makes it tough is, so our first go-round will be, usually 6 days, I think. So you might show the first day. And you might not show them in the second go-around for a week later. Right. And then if you get through the second go-around and make semifinals, you won't show them again for 2 more weeks. And, so there's like most of the shows we go to, it's like bang, bang, bang. You're, first go, second go-around, semifinals, finals, and, you roll right through it and you're working them every day and you're done. But there's a lot of downtime there, especially between the second go-round and the semifinals, and I think that's key too. Is how do you manage that time? Like, those horses have been worked a lot leading up to the Futurity. They kind of need a little break, but how much of a break do you give them? And so I mean, there's always that balancing act there that I think, and we all have to deal with it. And there again, I think it depends on the horse. I've never done the same thing for every horse. Right. Like I don't have, well, this is how I do it, and it kind of depends on the horse, but that, to me, that time's really important too, and not only just in keeping them prepared, but keeping them healthy that time of year, and and making sure they stay sound, and so I mean, it's like
I never thought of that.
Like of all of them, I think that's that's just another one of the things that makes the Futurity so special. Is there's so many, there's just so much to it,
right?
From start to finish. I think it's it's one of the reasons why to me it's the hardest show there is to win. Like, you've got to have some stuff go your way. I'm a big believer in you make your own luck, but you know what? You need things to go your way a little there too.
Yeah. Would you say that people from out of town have a disadvantage then, being in Fort Worth, because their horse is in Fort Worth for 2 weeks in between go rounds and finals? Yours could be at home where they've been.
I mean, yeah, probably, but I mean, there's, Austin Shepherd's done awful good.
Does he stay? So I've often wondered that. So the guys like Austin, does he stay at the Futurity those 2 weeks, or does he haul off?
He stays there.
He does.
Yeah.
He's really good too.
Yeah.
Big guy.
Yeah.
Met him once. He's a real nice guy.
Yeah.
Bet his workout program isn't like yours, Tom.
He's a really nice guy, but he will beat your ass. I'm gonna tell you. A lot.
He's not. I met him once. He was very polite. I was polite to him.
Yeah, I think he and Cade were on the same team last year.
I think if he met Tom, Tom would beat his ass. I mean, he would beat Tom's ass because these guys are jackasses. I mean, they can be quite mean.
I think he was on Cade's team at the American last year, wasn't he, Cade?
Yeah.
Yeah, good guy. I mean, he didn't he have a problem last year at the American?
No. Okay, he marked a 227 or something.
Yeah,
He's really good.
Who was it? You that had the problem?
No, he was
Who
good.
wasn't good?
His son.
Sarah. No, that was the man.
Who was?
Sarah, but the cavalry.
Oh yeah.
Everybody down the fence.
Yeah, Sarah. So it was Austin, Cade, and Sarah, and Austin and Cade were good, and Sarah had a little bit of. That's the thing. You put a cow in the equation.
Oh man.
Yeah, right.
It changes everything.
Yeah. So how many? I've always wondered that. How many young guys have you seen? Bam! They come on the scene. They have a couple of good go-arounds. They make the semifinals. They completely go through their horse between the second go-around and the semifinals.
Well, I don't know that I can put a number on it, but I mean, it happens. It's it's part of the learning curve.
Yeah.
It's. Yeah, I mean that's just. That's the one thing, and I think it's probably the same across the board, whether it's cutting, reining, cow horse, barrel racing, roping, whatever it is, like you can learn, from people how to do things, how to train a horse, how to get a horse to do certain things and stuff like that. But there's a lot of it that you just have to figure out on your own, and to me, that's part of it. That's, and that's, I think that's also, and I'm not like picking on the young guys or the new guys, but I think, over time, really knowing those horses, and to me, the guys that win all the time, like we're all trying to get them to do the same thing, right? Like, everybody's looking for that, that perfect mixture of structure and being smart about a cow. And every time you gain a little one way, you lose a little the other way. And, and the guys that win a lot, to me, they just have a very narrow window there. Everybody's kind of bouncing back and forth, I think. But the guys that win a lot, like they're either better horsemen or they've learned, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or they've learned their program good enough, to keep it all that, keep it balanced the majority of the time. And, and that's part of it, learning learning how much to get out of your horse, and and I think even that, like, how much does your horse have to give?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, so that's a big part of it too. And it's like, I think in all of it, you have to fail over and over again to get good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go through those failures and learn from them to get to where you want to be, because that's the only way you learn.
Yeah, and everybody's done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they say there's a certain amount of hours you got to do to master anything. And,
10,000, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you probably can triple it when you're talking about working with horses, because sometimes you're the mistake, and sometimes they make a mistake, and sometimes you don't know whose fault it is or why or what. You just got to fail and get up and fail and fail and fail.
Well, I don't think you ever master what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can't, because it's uncontrollable. half the
In
time,
moments
right?
you do, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
In
you
moments,
do,
yeah. I mean, I've had times when I felt like I couldn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But I've had times where I felt like I couldn't do anything right either.
Yeah.
Right.
And and I think everybody goes through that, but it's just, you just have to keep fighting and keep at it till you get it right again.
So I was told that you're probably one of the very top cow readers in the industry.
Man, I don't know that I'd say that, but
But
I appreciate somebody saying
Tom,
that.
his wife is sitting right there. You're not supposed to talk about this. We talked about this. You're not supposed to talk about this.
like impressive how you would. I was so impressive how you would look at the cows beforehand, walk in the herd, and make a split-second decision to take another cow, and it'd be a great cow. I mean, I was told by a couple of different people that you are the absolute top of the heap in picking cattle.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't necessarily feel that way a lot of the times. But there again, I think it's
That's probably why you're good at it.
it takes time and doing it, and it's you have to realize going in, it's an educated guess when you're picking cows, and you're going to be right sometimes, and you're going to be wrong sometimes, and sometimes you're just going to get lucky, and sometimes you're going to get unlucky.
Right.
That's all part of it, but it's, I don't know. It's funny to me. I can go to, I'll go to some shows, and I feel like, man, I'm just like, I know the cow's really good, and I feel like everything I cut is good. And then I'll go to another show, and I feel like I can't pick a good cow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't know what to attribute that to. I don't know why I can, at one show I can feel like I'm on and everything I cut's good, and then I go to somewhere else and I feel like everything I cut's terrible.
Do you think you have a special flavor of cow? Do you like the yellow cow or the red cows? I don't know if we're okay to talk about this in 2025. Maybe black cows matter.
Well,
I
I will say this, like, I think there's some people that naturally, when you sit down and start watching cattle, there are some people that are going to watch the black cattle more. I'm kind of the opposite. I've always watched the colored cattle more because, to me, they generally have more feel. The funny thing about that, the one time I won the Futurity, I cut 3 black cows and did it like on purpose. And here again, like, this kind of goes to the whole, like, things have to go your way a little bit. So the year I won the Futurity, I was in the second set. Well, I sat up there and watched the whole first set, and everybody's cutting these colored cows, and they're too much. Like, everybody's trying to go mark a huge score, and, and which, I mean, it's finals. It's what you're, that's why you're there. But I'm,
But you've been around the block enough to know.
And, and
they're
I'm
trying
watching
too
that,
hard.
and I know what. And look, the mare I wanted on was a good mare, but she had some limitations, and I knew that. And so when they brought my set in, like, I I didn't really look at any colored cattle. I looked to try to find me, and I had a good draw, and I tried to find me what I thought were 3 good black cows, and they were.
How deep into your set did you draw into the second
It was
set?
like 4th or 5th. Yeah.
And they run how many?
So they take 20
to the
20
finals.
to the final. So,
Okay.
10 or 12
Yeah,
usually,
depending on if you have ties, but usually 10 in a set if you don't have
So
any
when they
ties.
run those cattle in, you're watching, so the first guy that goes in the herd has his people. They do the settling, right?
Yes. Yeah, they pick who they want to
Yeah.
settle, yes.
And then so you sit up on top in the back there, and you're one of those guys. You watch all the cattle getting settled.
Yes.
And it's just one guy walking through them.
Yes.
Okay, so whoever picks that
Yeah.
one guy, and you're watching all those. So does you have other people watching cattle for you?
I'll have my 2 herd holders, which is usually, it used to be for years. It was John Mitchell and Paul Hansma, and Paul doesn't go to as many shows now. So I've been using Jeffrey Sheehan for the last, year or so. But yeah, whoever's getting me out in the herd, they'll usually watch cows with me unless they have to help. Or unless they have to help somebody else that's before me or something like that. But usually I'll have at least one, if not both of those guys there watching with me, and we'll talk about them. And, but ultimately it's the, whoever's showing, it's their call.
Right. So this is gonna be a dumb question, but I see those guys. They got they pull out a list out of their pocket of their shirt. Are those cows, most of them ear tagged, or somebody do a police sketch so you know which cows?
Like where their swirls are?
Yeah. I mean, it can be, especially, I was going to say especially if it's black cattle, but I mean, it can be, the same thing if they're all solid red or all solid white or, but like, you have to find, sometimes it'll be a little shit spot or
Dirt spot.
or whatever, on them. Maybe they we'll call it like if they have a little dirt spot on their tail head, we'll say, well, it's got a dime on its left tail head. There might be another one's got a dime spot on the right tail head, but, so I mean, however you can separate them and, and write them down and know them that way, that's, Bill Riddle, he'll give them names a lot of the time. He's pretty creative, that guy. So he'll, and it's pretty smart because he'll give them some, funny, ridiculous name. But you know what? You're not going to forget it when you go down there. But so it's just kind of, whatever you can find on them that sets them apart from the other ones that look like it. Yeah.
And then you're keeping track of which ones get worked.
Yes.
So you don't work them a second time,
yes.
right?
Unless, sometimes if you're deep, especially in the go-rounds, because there's typically not as many cattle per horse in the go-rounds, sometimes people will intentionally rerun one that, maybe somebody cut early in the set that was good and they didn't work very long or something like that if there's not much left. So yeah, a lot of that depends on, where your draw is on the set. Like, if I'm deep, I'm going to try to know all of them if I can. If I'm real early, I'm going to try to really know what I think are the better ones. And they change too, right? A lot of times a cow that settles good, the further you go, maybe they get a little numb and they're not as good. And some of those cattle that settle a little wilder, they get better as you go through too. So, you've got to, kind of keep an open mind, and especially if you're deep and really watch and see how those cattle change throughout the set, because there may be, there's been lots of times there's been cows that I didn't like during the settle that I end up cutting deep in the herd and end up being great cows.
Is that always your call, or do your herd holders sometimes say, try that one?
Yeah, no, they're going to chime in, and, but it's still, I'm the one holding the reins. It's my decision whether I I trust what they're telling me, or, and I mean, there's times when I feel like I know the cattle as good as anybody there, and I'm going to cut. And I really try to be this way all the time. Like, you know what? It's my 2.5 minutes. It's my responsibility to know the cows, and I like to cut the cows that I like, regardless of what my help thinks. Because you know what? If I cut them and they're good, good on me. If I cut them and they're not good, then I needed to do a better job. I'm not going to blame them.
Right.
And so that's how I look at it. But there's sometimes that, like I said, for whatever reason, maybe I don't. There might be a cow I didn't watch that much that they did, and maybe by the time it's my turn, there's not much left that I did like, and they're saying, well, this cow, I think's acted pretty good. Well, if I don't have much, then I'm gonna trust what they tell me and go with it. But still, ultimately it's my decision.
Right.
We had Todd here a couple weeks ago, and he was saying, he's Bergen. Yeah, he had some bad breakups with some herd help. You ever had any bad breakups with herd help?
I mean, no.
Well, yeah.
Here's the deal. Like, I can't think of anybody that I've ever had help me that I didn't think really tried to help me.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the herd or turning back or whatever. But I think what you find as you the more you show and the more, you use different people is there's different styles of the way people help. And the cows, like if you're talking about your corner help, like generally you all kind of like the same kind of cows, and and like the communication is good. That's what I look for a lot is there's they know what I'm looking at when I go down there, and they're gonna they're gonna be able to help me find it and tell me where it is and help me get it in a good spot to get it cut and all those things, and the same thing with the turnback guys out front. To me, they're maybe even more important because they have more control, really of the run. Mm-hmm. And like I said,
he ain't talking shit about anybody.
I don't feel like there's anybody that's intentionally tried to screw me or anything like that.
Todd Bergen's got his feelings hurt then a few times. Okay.
Well,
I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry for Todd, and I'm not saying it hasn't happened or whatever. But I've just learned over the years, like there's ways certain people turn back that I like, and there's ways that that I guess what I'm saying, there's ways certain people turn back that fits what I like, and there's other people I still think they're trying to help me and do as good as they can, but maybe I just don't like the way they handle cattle doesn't fit.
That's the answer I expected, because I called 3 or 4 people trying to get some really good scoops on Matt. Everybody says, just a nice guy. There was no great, I had nothing to just dig into. Everybody says, no, he's a good guy. He's good to everybody.
I have a question for you about your futurity win, if you don't mind. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be, because as well Tom knows, I'm down here, I'm wrong a lot, okay? But you were very successful in your career before your futurity win came.
Yes.
Do you think that futurity win meant more to you because it took you a little bit longer than all the other success came? Do you think it meant more to you?
Well, probably. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
So I think when I won the futurity, it meant a lot to me for a lot of reasons. But when I've been third at futurity 5 times, 4 times, and reserved once now, and won it once. But when I'm Counting Checks was 3, like, I hate to say this because Tommy Marvin won the Futurity that year, and he's damn sure supposed to win it. But I felt like when I quit my second cow, like I just needed to finish good, and I had it won. And I botched my 3rd cut, ended up getting paired up on my 3rd cut, and I end up 3rd. And, you know, I'd kind of got to the point to where, you know, I thought, well, you know, I blew my chance to win the Futurity. Like, that was my shot. And, you know, but, yeah, it worked out, and, you know what, like 16 that, you know, I did win it. So, I mean, you know, I think that, you know, it was kind of, for me, it was that one thing that was, you know, still hanging out there. And,
Right.
And you had a Hall of Fame career before you won the Futurity.
Yeah.
You won everything.
And and, you know, so, I mean, like, it wasn't like if I never would have won the Futurity, like, it's not like I would have felt like my career would have been a failure or, but man, it was a relief to, it was a relief to win it.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Rory.
Yeah.
Like Rory at the Masters this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
because I think as you get older, you know, when you're young, you don't think about it that much. But you know what? That show comes around one time a year.
Yeah.
Like, there's one shot a year at that.
Mm-hmm.
And
And a whole
And
bunch of
things
other
gotta
guys
go
that
your
can
way.
win.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and like I said, I mean, like, you've got to have a good horse. You've got to do a good job.
Gotta
But
get a
things
good
also
cow.
have to line up for
Yeah.
you know it. So it's kind of crazy. So in 1990, I won the non-pro Futurity, and I won it on a horse that wasn't very good. I think I'd marked a pair of 13s to make the semifinals and a 13.5 to make the finals, and I marked a 219 to win the finals.
Damn.
But there, I don't know what it was, but I knew before the cut never started that night I was going to win it. And I didn't have a good enough horse to win it. But I knew I was going to win it. I mean, I had sold the mother of the mare I showed to Lex Graham a few months before that. And he was sitting right next to Spencer Harden, who at the time was probably like one of the top non-pros,
Right.
you know. And I rode right over to him. I said, I'm going to make you proud of that mare you bought from me tonight. I mean, I just knew I was going to win it. I don't know how. I don't know why.
That's cool.
But, you know, when I won the Open Futurity, I'm not going to say I knew I was going to win it, but, like,
you had a good feeling about it.
it just got to where
Just works.
it just got to where, like I honestly didn't think I would get this mare through 3 go-rounds to make the finals. Like, she was talented. She did some really cool stuff. But she was immature enough mentally at the time that I didn't know if she could hold it together for 2.5 minutes, you know, 3 runs to even get to the finals. And every, you know, like, right after the buzzer, the first go-round, she jumps the wrong way. Right after the buzzer, second go-round, she jumps the wrong way. Right after the buzzer semifinal, she doesn't turn around. All happens right after the buzzer.
Huh.
And, you know, and I remember Gavin Jordan texted me right after when I showed her the first go-round of the Futurity. I think I marked a 20 or 20.5, something like that. He said, I just watched the Futurity Champion. And I'm like, you're nuts. Like, I don't know that I can keep this mare together through, you know, the whole thing. And, you know, and then, but, you know, it just like everything kept falling into place.
Right.
And even like and it finally, like, even when I got the draw for the finals, I'm like fourth or
Final story. Tell Johnny.
oh, well, so Johnny Mitchell, after the semifinals, when right after the buzzer, she doesn't turn around. So I'm driving home, and Johnny Mitchell calls me, and He says, "Hey, mate." And I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm driving home." He said, "Look," he says, "I know that you're really mad at that mare right now." And he said, "Look," he said, "I'm not going to tell you not to address it because you need to address it. But he said, address it. Don't
kill her.
Yeah.
Don't fix it.
Yeah,
Just
don't get carried away because he said, like, you have a real shot to win this deal. Like, don't overdo it. Just address it, and and trust it, and so. But yeah, then so I work her the next morning, do like he said, and and then when I saw the draw for the finals, and I'm like 4th or 5th in the second set, I'm like. This shit's it's just getting crazy. Like everything just kept falling
into place,
and all, it was kind of funny. All my help they still give me a hard time sometimes because right before my run, I called them all over there. I said, "Look," I said, "this may be the last good chance I have to win the Futurity." I said, "Y'all make sure you do y'all's job. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but y'all be on your toes, and I'll do the rest." And, and it worked out. So, but yeah, it was just, it was crazy how that whole show, even from the start, like I really did, when I went the first go round, I didn't think I had a horse that really had a shot. I knew the talent was there. I just didn't think everything was together good enough to get through it. And, and it's just kind of like it just kept falling, everything just kept falling into place.
Did that horse give you more faith in a little more immature horses in the future? Or not really?
I mean, yeah. I've had other horses like her even before that, I did pretty good on, but like, not good enough to win it. So, like I said, you never know, but, when one feels really ready and when one doesn't,
So in our industry, it's very common for one to look different than it feels.
Right.
Like you're feeling it, okay, it's pretty but it has a ton of ring presence, and I mean, they just want to market. Do you guys get those?
Oh yeah, I've got. So several years ago, I had a gelding that I loved, and it was about summer of the 3-year-old year, and I kept telling Tara how much I love this horse. Like he just felt amazing, and she come and watched him one day, and she's like.
Dream crusher.
She's like, what do you like about him? I'm like, what do you mean? Like this horse is sweet, and he feels so good. She said, "Have you ever watched him?" And I said, "No." And she's like, "Well, like he's blah, like he has no expression on his face at all." And I'm like, "There's no way. Like this horse feels so cowy and like stops and like big move and just felt really good." So she comes and videos him one day. And when I walk in the house for lunch, she's got it hooked up on the TV, the big screen TV.
Oh, no.
And turns it on. and turns it on.
Oh, man.
And I watch it. She says, "What do you think about him now?" I say, "He fucking looks terrible."
Oh, man.
I'm like, wow. So, yeah, she said, "You got to remember, like, it's a judged event."
Yeah. It's funny how sometimes
they don't judge you on how it feels.
Yeah. We won't believe somebody when they tell us that. We got to almost see it from our own eyes. Monica can tell me till she's blue in her face. I said, "You don't know what you're talking. Leave me the hell alone. I got this handled."
Yeah, show the video.
She'll just say, "Here, watch this. You're not going. I know I'm not going fast enough. I can see it."
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that horse?
He made a decent non-pro gelding, but he wasn't as good a horse as I thought he was.
Wow.
So going back, do you always listen to your wife like that? Like you take her word for it all the time?
100% of the time. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm on it. So usually, this is how it goes. Usually, she tells me something like that, or that I'm either doing something wrong or not doing something right or whatever. And usually it really pisses me off.
This is a normal human reaction, by the way. We all have the same reaction.
It really pisses me off at the moment.
Yeah.
But then she always proves to me that she was right.
Yeah.
So back, I had a hip replacement in 2004. I think that's right. 2004. Well, so leading up to that, and then, like, I got to where it hurt so much to ride. Like, it changed how I did things, and it took me, I don't know, maybe 15 years till I finally figured it out. But my horses all got to falling off going to the right.
To the left.
It was to the left.
If you're on the horse, it was going to the right. If you're watching it, it was going to the left.
The video was from the left.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Anyway,
one way or the other. Anyway, whatever.
Yes, darling.
So anyway, and but I feel like I'm still like I'm shaping them in there like I always have, like, and it feels right? But like when I go show, it's not right, and I'm like I can't figure it out. And she said, well, they're falling off over here, like you're short and they're falling off. And I said, no, I'm not. Well, finally she gets a ladder and like films me from the side going across that way, and she's like, same thing. I walk in the house, she's got these video, like 10 horses I worked that day. And she's like, what do you think now? Now I'm really pissed.
Yeah. She got the ladder out and everything.
Yeah. But she was right, you know, and I think that's where, so kind of over the years I've learned that, you know what, even though it pisses me off at the moment, she's probably right.
Yeah.
But but I'm fortunate to have that person, really.
Yeah, for sure.
That that will be honest and tell you.
Yeah.
Hey, look, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Okay,
this
stop.
isn't right.
Yeah.
Okay, stop. That's enough. You're getting Tom in trouble.
Yeah. Well, Tom says that all the time.
Oh,
He's always like, I'm so fortunate to have Mandy. He said that just the other day. He used different words, but that's the tone.
That was the gist of it.
Yeah, that was the tone he had.
I don't know if
like, what were the words like, get out of here, bitch?
I don't even think there was words.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the presentation of the words is different from your wife to you versus
I'm going
my
to
wife.
guess not.
Yeah, she got the ladder out. Mandy hasn't gotten the ladder out yet.
Yeah. No. I don't know how well you know Tara, but she's not a beat around the bush kind of person.
Yeah, no,
It's
Mandy.
pretty direct.
Mandy's not either.
Yeah.
It's not true. It's only loving and kind and
Yeah.
I'm just telling you this because I love you.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you going to try on this one?
I was
Are you even going to try?
I was running and stopping one day at home, and this horse spreads a little bit, and in my opinion, he was spreading because he wasn't running good. In her opinion, they needed a different shoer. We had different opinions, right? So I'm running and stopping him one day, and she walks out into the arena with the shoer. Did not go well at all for either one of us, because I got mad and then she got mad, and that's never good for me when she's mad.
And
so.
the poor horse shoer is just standing there.
He's like, he didn't know if he should shit or go blind at that point.
Awkward.
He's wondering how he got drugged in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Poor
exactly.
guy.
He's like, he didn't know if he should leave or. Yeah, no, so I get it, but
They shod the horse different. They did it Mandy's way.
Yeah, and it worked.
No, I don't remember these
Yeah,
things.
that's how the story went for fairy tale's sake.
Yeah, but to your point, yes, it is. You got to have those eyes.
Well, and you have Cade too now too. So
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, like
friggin' fun,
and
too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you're enjoying that.
but
He
but
tells
still,
him how
though,
good
like,
he used to be all the time.
That's right.
Yeah, Kate is pretty young then. Yeah,
But I think it does. I mean, I think it does help when you have somebody. You work. I mean, it's no different than back when I was getting started. I mean, I worked with Paul and Winston a lot and Johnny Mitchell a lot. And there was always. I think the difference then though was like I could watch those guys and still can. Like I can watch them work theirs and realize what I'm doing wrong or what I'm not doing just in watching them work theirs.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's one thing that's hard. Like, if you're like a lot of these people that are, I'm fortunate where we live. I mean, there's lots of people to go work with if you feel like you need help. And, but if you're somebody that lives off somewhere and you don't have somebody around you that knows, I mean, like it's amazing how easy it is to, even after you've had quite a bit of success, it's amazing how easy you can slip into doing something wrong. But after you do it for a while, it feels right. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So then and it's hard to, I mean, I've been there. I've been in that spot. And, and I think I finally learned how not to get in that spot. But it's, it's when you have somebody, when you have another set of eyes that knows, that's watching, that can kind of help you from getting off into the ditch. I mean, it's a whole lot better than once you're already in the ditch. I can tell you that.
For sure.
100%. And beyond that, like for me, when Cade's running and stopping or doing whatever he's doing, I'm like, I'll watch him and I think, shit, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
I mean, having that person right there all the time that has that expectation to go be first place all the time. Yeah. I mean, it raises your level of awareness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think 100%. And
I just want to know, did you notice how many times he said she was right?
And you notice how many times I said it? Yeah. My wife can be right sometimes, but her delivery's not great. I mean,
Tara's delivery's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the tone. We always talk about the tone.
Yeah.
She could deliver it a little softer at a little different timing. Maybe the
Instead
timing, the tone, and
instead
the
of just saying
timing.
that sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right after
that's
I
terrible.
figured out that it sucks.
Yeah.
Monica won't even say anything.
Why
to
in the
me
hell
anymore.
did you cut that? Sorry,
She'll
cow?
just videotape
Yeah.
it and show it to me.
Yeah.
She won't
Did
say
you
nothing.
not want to win?
I got one of those. I've got one of those. Yeah. You're not even trying.
You're not even trying. Oh, I guess I wasn't. I thought I was, but I fucking guess not.
Yeah.
I got smarter now. Like now I don't like just argue and argue and argue. I just go,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walks away.
And then that makes you feel
Oh,
bad.
buddy.
That makes
Yeah.
me so bad.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah. No, there's nothing worse than that. It's like stay and argue a little bit. Don't just go, okay, looks good. I'm like,
Keep doing what you're doing then.
That's working great. Yeah.
But I think that their family dynamic and the words they exchange with each other would surprise a lot of people. I don't think most people's marriages would
Are you
survive.
Are you talking about Tom and Mandy?
Tom
or
and
me
Mandy.
Tara? Okay.
No. Tom and Mandy.
You can throw Kate into that mix.
Yeah, Kate. I don't think that most marriages would survive those exchanges of words that they have.
Would you ever tell her to get her fat ass off her horse and put her skid boots on herself?
Oh. You said that?
There's so many thoughts
remember
going
that.
in my head right now.
No, Mandy's lost a lot of weight since then.
So you're not going to say it anymore.
No, I wouldn't say it now.
Matt, I didn't know what happened. But Tom comes up to me after she ties her horse to the fence and walks
that's
off
right.
and says, I think I pissed her off. Like he didn't know.
That's right. I remember that now.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't say that.
In
Those
hindsight,
exact
hey, we're
words.
older now. In hindsight, I wouldn't say it now.
But I have been guilty of saying, you know how much money I've won doing this? Like, I think I know what the hell I'm doing.
I'm a professional.
Until she proves to me that I don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How many millions have you won? That's
Yeah.
the question I
I've give that to her a few times.
Yeah, you got to
And
defend
then she
yourself.
takes a damn video and she like puts it up there and she's
TV.
like,
On the
well,
big
how much
screen.
money have you won now?
Yeah.
Or how much money do you think you're going to win looking like that? That's
Yeah.
more like it is. Yeah.
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 No,
So,
Then I just tell him I was a world champion before he was.
yeah, she likes to throw that in there too.
they always got something.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife's won more than I have.
If my wife showed, she'd probably won more than I would too.
Wow. Hey,
And I
I'm
do
gonna-
too.
I'm gonna
But
need
she
you
doesn't
guys
show
to-
very often.
I'm gonna need y'all to edit that block of video. I'm gonna need that recording saved, put it on archive somewhere.
You know, man, I want to be clear. If I didn't throw it out, it was coming from somewhere. So there's some disappointment in the room because I beat several of these assholes to that.
No, there's a tear shed in my eye because you're the one that said it out loud. I'm so proud of you, Tom. You're getting so much better.
It's really growing as a person. isn't
Yeah.
it? Look how good a job you've done, Mandy.
Yeah.
Finally getting him trained.
See, Tara, there is hope.
There's a story for you. He did tell a group of our friends that had been married for several years longer than us how he was going to train me. He did do that. That happened, huh, honey?
Yeah, that might have happened. I can't remember who. We were off on vacation one time, and it was when we were all first married, and they were married longer than us. And who was it? Who were we? Yeah, Del Hendricks and Troy Hikes, Todd Bergen. We were all, and I was kind of laying out the outline for how I was going to train my wife. And
Really?
yeah,
You had an outline.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't have it written down, but
in
in
your
my
head.
head, yeah, I had this thing perfectly laid out,
Step
and
by step.
I'm not all the way there yet. It's taken a little bit
How many
longer.
steps do you have left?
A few. I mean, a few. It's taken a little bit
Are we
longer.
halfway there, or
We're no, probably not. She's not as receptive as I would hoped.
I wonder how far along in her training program you are.
Just about finished, I think. Yeah.
You just admitted it, so you're close to the end.
No, just about fully trained. That's how it goes.
This is fantastic.
That's good.
That's how it
That's what
goes.
everybody always talks about being a horse trainer's wife, how tough it is. Well, sometimes it's hard being a
Thank you.
being a horse trainer.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much. So, okay, let's move on past all of how
All the wife
we're
stuff.
still learning and all these things.
Yeah, we're no good.
So you've had an unbelievably successful career, 10 million plus. What is for the young guys? Like we talk about it, and I, with Cade and stuff, always talk about. You've seen it, I've seen it. Older trainers, the generation before us, that made some money, blew through it all, ended up being broke at the end of their career. These are famous guys.
Oh yeah.
And so what
Trying
would
not
you
to be
tell?
one of those?
Yeah, what would you? And I feel that you're not. From some of the people I've talked to, they say that you're really good about. Well, somebody called you cheap. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, that's Winston Hansman. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He still, to this day, still hadn't even paid for his own toilet paper. Like that guy, he's lived his whole life and never had to pay for anything. So he can't talk about anybody.
No,
being cheap.
Winston.
Like-
he's probably as slick as anybody.
Yes,
He's
for sure.
He's made the most out of his
yes.
circumstances.
Of all the stuff I've learned from him, I wish I'd learned more of that kind of stuff. But no, I think it's hard because especially when you're a horse trainer training for the public and riding the number of horses that you have to ride and do all the things that you have to do, like it's hard to really do anything else. Mm-hmm. You know, so I always tell people if there's an opportunity to invest money, in something else. Have something else besides the horses that you can invest money in, and that doesn't take your time away from training horses. That you definitely need to explore that and try to be smart about those things. But it's hard to find. Like for me, I think I had that place there in Weatherford and had it for several years, and finally reached a point to where I didn't feel like my body could handle riding the number of horses that I was going to have to ride to keep paying for it, and made the decision to sell it and go to work for somebody where I could ride fewer horses. And I just felt like I felt like for me to have a longer career, that was something I was going to need to do, because I've been doing this a long time, and I had a bad car wreck when I was 15. Like, my body's pretty beat up, and I just couldn't. I didn't see myself being able to ride 40 head of horses a day,
Right.
for 15, 20 more years. But so I sold the ranch and bought some property with part of it, invested part of it with a financial guy, and so far, like, that's kind of worked out. But I think that whatever it is, like, you truly have to, when you have to plan for some kind of retirement. If you don't, that's how you're going to end up. At some point you're going to be old, you can't win anymore, and nobody wants to send you a horse, and you've blown everything that you've made, and you know what, you end up in that spot. So you've got to be smart enough that when it's your time and you are winning, and everybody's wanting to send you a horse and you're making money, like, you need to be taking some of that money and putting it somewhere where it's working for you. Otherwise, there's not any real, retirement program,
Right.
if you don't make one for yourself. So, I think that's real important, and, and whatever it is, it's going to be something different for different people, but you need to find something that you can, take some of that money, put it somewhere that.
Do you think there's more money available to be made now? Because I look at, in our industry, some of the guys that had hugely successful careers and ended up being broke at the end of their career and having some issues and people trying to subsidize and help them get through and whatever, but they didn't have, in their era, there wasn't the ability to make as much money as there is in our era. Do you think it's the same in the cutters?
Yeah, probably so. To me, I think one of the biggest difference I see is, like now, I feel like the cutters, the reiners, cow horse people, like, we're all a lot more connected than we used to be. Like, and even, even barrel horse trainers and ropers and, and team pinners. And, so like, one of the things I see, like, even like a lot of the horses that aren't good enough to really make true cutting horses, I can sell them. There's lots of places I can go sell those still for good money, for one, because there's always those people looking for, it might not work for me. I mean, probably one of my horses isn't going to work for you, but it might work for a roper or a team pinner or, maybe a barrel racer. I don't know. But, so I mean, like, just the value of those horses, back then, a horse like that might bring $5,000, $7,500. Now you might get $30,000 for it.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's different. And then some of it I think is, I don't know, it's, like in our deal, the winnings really aren't that much more now than overall, I guess they are, but I feel like you guys, the Rainers are a little bit later to that party. I feel like you guys you've had, being when I was in my 20s going to the yearling sales, there was always a strong business in the cutting horse industry. And I feel like we're a little bit later to that party. To me, I guess the biggest difference in the horse industry, and I think that's just across the board, is back when I was a kid, the majority of the money, at least in the cutting horse deal, was like old ranch, money and oil and gas money. And today the money in it comes from so many different places. It's so much more diversified. Now, like if you look back in the 80s and stuff, like when oil and everything was good, the cutting horse business was good. When it was bad, the cutting horse business was bad. Now, the money in it comes from so many different places. Like I think that it doesn't fluctuate.
Right.
It's just the money invested in it's a lot more diversified. Therefore, I think the business has stayed more stable overall. But as far as, it's kind of relative too, right? Like, things didn't cost as much back then. So, we have horses now selling for millions of dollars that maybe back then might have sold for $200,000 or $300,000, but
Right.
The expenses weren't as much. It's just inflation. But
You made a point there when you said it used to be, a lot of the big ranches and I can remember the conversation 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever it was, about where are we going to get our next people from, because the agriculture, the ranches, they're getting smaller, there's less of them. Where are we going to draw our customers from? And that was a concern. And actually, there is more people than ever. And I'm not sure it's not in part because I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not sure it's not in part because people that grew up on those ranches, a lot of times I think they went to do something else because ranching's tough.
Right.
I mean, farming ranching's tough. They had enough of that. They went somewhere else. Now we're getting these clients that watch Yellowstone.
yeah.
Watch all these. Now the American's phenomenal. The Run for a Million's phenomenal. There's all these things that are promoting the Western horse. And I think now we're getting a bunch of people that grow up and they just love the horses.
Yeah.
And didn't grow up and have a chance of getting sick of doctoring cattle and training horses and doing all that. So I think that's where they're coming from, but that was a real concern 20 years ago.
Well, I think for sure. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Taylor Sheraton has had a huge impact on the horse industry as a whole.
Agreed.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's the entire horse industry he's helped, and
He's coming to do the show someday.
And the same with the guy behind the American and all that. I mean, all that stuff is. I think it's really, like you said, it's really. I think most people in general, like, who doesn't like a horse?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, people love horses, and for the most part, and so yeah, when you have that stuff playing on TV and, and the whole Western life, I mean, like, it's, it's cool to be a cowboy again. And people, want to be a cowboy. And I think, the Cowboy Channel, too, with the rodeo and, having everything, all that on TV, it just gives it all more exposure. And I think the thing about the horse industry that's different than all other sports is, like, like whether it's reining, cutting, whatever, yeah, it's a sport, but it's a culture.
Yeah, lifestyle.
And it's a lifestyle, and I think people are drawn to that. And and I think that's one place the NCHA could still, like, we could do better marketing, like do features on some of these horses, and not just cutting. Like the year I won the world on Special New Baby, Tara would make some silly videos of me feeding her cookies at night in my pajamas or whatever, and there'd be 10,000 people like it, and you could put a cutting run on there, and there might be 1,000 people like it.
Did he have a shirt? Did he have a shirt on in those videos?
But like everybody could relate to that.
Yeah.
And like, so I mean, and I think that's part of the culture, and like I think the PBR's done a good job of that with the bulls. They've made not only stars out of the bull riders, but stars out of the bulls.
Yeah, you can go into a feed store and buy a bull. Yeah, for sure. So we went to the Kid Rock Rodeo the other night. Packed. I mean, packed to the rafters. And I think, 20 years ago, it might have been hard to sell out American Airlines.
Oh, 100%.
And it was packed or not American Airlines. Where was it?
Globe Life or
AT&T.
Or AT&T.
Yeah, AT&T.
Yeah.
It was packed. And it was great to watch. It was a fun so I think there's always new people putting on new events. Like there's more, that's a new event. The American's a new event. The Run for Million's a relatively new event. I think there's more of this stuff popping up and getting in front of everybody. And
yeah, and I hope it just keeps coming, because, and I really do. I like the American and the Run for a Million. Like, throws off.
Jesus.
Do that. I finally knocked it over.
There's one thing that we told you
Not
to do.
See what she has to deal with all the time. But like, where it's brought the cutters and the reiners and the cow horse people all together. Like, I really like that because I think we all can feed off each other.
100%.
And and I think it's good for the horse industry as a whole. And I think that's where Taylor Sheridan, especially with his shows, it's really been good for the entire horse industry, not just one aspect of it.
Agreed. And I think it's cool because a horseman respects a horseman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
It doesn't matter if it's the cow horse, if it's the rein and the cutting. A horseman respects a horseman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Reining, cutting, roping, barrel racing, cow horse, whatever. Like the people that win, like the people like there's a lot of work that's gone in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's whoever it is, they've busted their ass to do what they're doing and have been fortunate enough to get some really good horses along the way so I think that's exactly right. It doesn't matter what event it is. Like if those people that are really good, like you have to respect that because like we all know what it takes to
get there. Yeah. And I can tell you one thing. So Taylor, he's been a big part of promoting all of these disciplines and the horse business in general. Which is great, and we all appreciate that. But the thing about Taylor, for me, he rides his non-pro horses he has with Cade. The thing that's most impressive for me with Taylor is it's real. Yeah. It's real. He shows his horse, good or bad. He goes in that stall, pets on him, gives him a treat. He loves his horses.
Oh yeah.
He is. It's not like, well, this bitch was no good. It doesn't matter. Good or bad, he loves his horses.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I respect. That's something that you respect. Yeah. All of us as horsemen. I think nobody gets to the top level in this industry if you don't love your horses.
No.
I'd have more respect for him if he came on the show.
Well, honestly, if you didn't love horses, why would you
do this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But you've seen it and I've seen it. There are people out there that are in my industry that I question their love of horses.
And I mean, and I think there's some in all of it. You know, to some people they're just a vehicle, but I think as we go, you see, like I see less of those people. I think,
Right.
you know, like as the years go by, you know, you see more and more people that, you know, truly do. I feel like love the horses and are in it for the horses, and
Right.
you know, they're not just a vehicle to try to get them somewhere.
Those are the guys that are in for the long haul. Those are the guys that have been around for a while.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yep.
I've seen a picture of you and Special New Baby in Dr. John McCarroll's office for a long time. A big picture too. She must have been a special horse to land on his wall.
She's the best one I mean, it's hard to say. Like,
I'm just thankful she was a horse and not a woman, or I'd have been traded in.
when I won the world on her, there's no doubt, like, that's the best horse I've ever been on. She was one of those that took a while for her to mature mentally, but at that time in her life, like, I don't know that I know I never have and probably never will ride another one that could be that smart, stop and start as quick as that mare could, and just, you know, do the things she could do. There's just not many of them out there, you know, and
But you and her had something special.
oh yeah, no.
I mean, like, talk about the run in Vegas when you put her down with 2 cows in front of you.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, we, you know, I feel like she always knew what I was thinking, and I knew what she was thinking. Like Tara brought up, when the year I won the world on her, back then they were the Mercuria events, they called them. They were big, money added, open, non-pros. And they had one in Vegas one year, and in the go-round, I'd cut 2 cows, and like had 2, my first cow was good, second cow was good. I go to cut my 3rd cow, and this other cow runs out there. I get paired up, like, and this one cow won't go back. Well, maybe 5 seconds I'm paired up on my cut, and this other cow ain't going back. So I just throw my hand down and, like,
Pick one.
Here you go.
Figure it
Like,
out.
stay with, you know, and like, we worked for maybe, I don't know, 5-10 seconds with 2 cows out there, and she stays right there with the one that we were working, and finally they get the other one put up, and I mark enough to make the finals, and I think end up winning it. But
That's pretty cool.
but yeah, like, I mean, it was to the point to where, I mean, I had to do that, or I wasn't. There was no
Right.
way they could mark me enough to go. Like, I was going to be paired up till the buzzer went off.
But that was your guys' relationship. Like, she knew what you were thinking the whole time.
You know, I mean, yeah, like, there was definitely a bond there, like which I've had with other horses, but I don't know that I've ever felt like I've had that kind of bond that I had with her, where, you know, she truly, like, I felt like she knew where I was mentally all the time, and I knew where she was mentally all the time. That's pretty special. Like,
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you guys own that mare?
no, the Barkers on
Okay.
her. Yeah. I would like to have owned her, but
There was a yearling that Alan Chappell had 4 or 5 years ago out of her. I can't remember which stud it was by. And I nonchalantly said, hey, just so you know, that one's selling tomorrow. Me and Kate will take that one. How much you want for it? $150. Yeah, we'll take that one, just so you know. Casually just said it. The next day it brought $330,000. I said, Alan, I want my $180,000. He said, what are you talking about? I told you we wanted it yesterday.
I bought her.
He conveniently forgot.
Yeah. Well,
Good stuff.
boys,
Yeah.
Matt, thanks for
Awesome.
coming.
Yeah, thanks,
no,
man.
thanks
That
for
was
having
great.
me. Been
Good
looking
story.
$10
forward to
million.
this
We
for a
probably
while.
could have kept you here for 10 hours telling
Oh,
stories.
yeah, right.
I mean,
Y'all are pretty easy to talk to. I could have hung out that long.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it would be easy, but the thing is, like I said, everybody we can't even go down a bad rabbit hole because everybody says he's just a good guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't
We
get
tried
any
to bring
shit
some
on you
dirt up on
at
you.
all. And I tried. I called 3 or 4 different people trying
I
to get
can't
some.
believe Winston didn't come up with something.
No, he said
Well, he
he's,
came up with the photo.
That was pretty traumatic.
yeah. Yeah.
Didn't find it dramatic at all.
Tara's got a worse photo than that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Grow the
All
show.
right. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank y'all.